Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. We're going to be talking about Star Wars Resistance today. I'm Lorenzo Fon, sitting here with...
Kevin Horde.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I came up with a new idea for this. So over on the Clone Wars, I count on-screen deaths, which I'm a little behind on there, so I need to review a couple episodes and catch up. But I decided that maybe an arbitrary count that I would keep on this show is the number of times that people say spy.
I was feeling you're going to head that way because it does come up a lot. It comes up a lot in this episode. We'll definitely be talking about that. So, just to get started, this is the third episode of Star Wars Resistance, Season 1, Fuel for the Fire. Mm-hmm. The official air date will be October 21st, 2018. But Disney released the first 3 episodes of Resistance all at once on the premiere date of, when was that? October 7th? Way back when? Is
sure.
that what it was?
Yeah. That sounds
2
right.
Sundays ago.
Mm-hmm.
So, so they released all 3 episodes onto the Disney Now app is how I watched it anyways. But it was available there. But official air date on Disney Channel is October 21st. So should we just do a quick run through and then we'll discuss afterwards? Yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So in this episode, we have Kazuda is still working for Yeager, and he is. We start the episode with him fixing an engine. He is slightly proud that he was able to fix it, but it ends up exploding. Tam and Niku, his buddies at the shop, they are disappointed in his mechanical skills and go off to watch the race that is currently happening. Kaz also wants to watch, but Yeager kind of reprimands him and tells him that he needs to fix the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaz is like, well, he didn't say I couldn't fix it outside, so he drags the engine outside and...
Yeah, it sounds like it's
to watch the
BB-8's
race.
idea, because BB-8's like...
Right.
BB-8. And Kaz is like, you're right.
Right, yep. So BB-8 is the one that kind of chirps the idea. But while he's out there, the engine starts for some strange reason, and then it falls off the side of the platform.
Okay, so it doesn't start, but it's on like a hollow, or it's on like a, I would say,
a hover platform of some sort.
Yeah, like a hover sled.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like maybe this platform is like pitched slightly toward the edge so that rain and whatnot wouldn't run back into the shop, but the other direction. And it just slowly kind of takes off toward the edge.
Well, the engine does have like a mild smoke thing that comes out the back of it. So something does happen with the engine.
Okay.
That at least starts it, because it is sitting still. And then I won't, like, just a mild, a small explosion, a soft explosion of some sort happens in the engine.
It's like an exhaust fart.
Something like that, yeah. So smoke does pop out the back that does propel it off the side of the platform.
Okay.
So
Sorry
then No, it's fine. As Kaz is pulling that back up out of the water, Yeager basically fully yells at him and is like, yo, you have to keep your cover. Like, what are you doing? You have to be a mechanic here.
Yeah, so it definitely falls all the way in. And
right.
Then I didn't think that it was Kaz that like brought it back up. It was, I assumed, like Tam.
Or somebody
real.
does, yeah.
Yeah, they use like a crane thing or whatever.
Right, a big crane thing. But Kaz is the only one we see there, and then Yeager. So that's why I say Kaz is the one pulling it back up, because Tam and Niku are nowhere to be seen in this scene.
Okay.
But yeah, so Kaz is like, I should be spying and going out doing spy stuff. And Yeager is like, you have to keep your cover.
Mm-hmm.
And Kaz is like, well, I'm not a mechanic. And Yeager does bring up a good point. It's like, yeah, but you can't let everybody else know that.
Mm-hmm.
And you keep this up, then everybody will know that.
Yeah, he made a nice point. He said, if you get exposed, imagine what it's going to do to Tam and Niku and me.
Right.
I don't even know
So-
if he says him, like Tam and Nico.
Yeah,
or
just
the
Tam and
people that he's
Niku
talking
for
about.
sure. Right. So basically, just keep your goddamn cover and stop fucking saying spy out loud from my vantage point. So Kaz gets upset, and then we cut to him having a drink at Aunt Z's bar, tavern,
Yep.
cantina. And he's kind of talking over the situation lightly with Aunt Z. And Aunt Z is like, I mean, I can't really help you there. She basically doesn't even care.
She basically tells him that she doesn't want to talk to him at all because
Right.
he says, have you ever said something and then immediately regretted it? And she says, yes. One time I said, hello, Kazuda, how are you? So
And
she's
then,
basically saying, I don't want to talk to you.
She doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't care. So at the same time, a character by the name of Jace Rucklin.
Okay.
Right?
I'm sorry, I need to interject. I know this
Yeah, go
isn't
ahead.
the way that we normally run the Resistance episodes, but
Go for it.
this creepy patron at the end of the bar, this androgynous person that is blue with the triangular shaped head thing,
Yes.
where Kazuda says, man, I wish I took lodging with Yeager, but maybe there would be somewhere else to say. And there's this person, I'm presuming is male, is like,
Oh, you can come and stay with me. That'd be nice.
Yes.
and it's just a weird character that just like pops in there and then pops in later in the episode. So it gave me this slight feeling of awkwardness.
I think, to me, I did like this moment. It was a humorous awkwardness. It was purposeful awkwardness, especially because like they're at a cantina sort of situation, and this is like the kind of person that I could imagine at a place like this during the daytime, if that makes sense, right? Like just the weird, creepy old person in the corner of the bar who is trying to make conversation with anybody they can.
Okay.
Right. Like, or like even if you go eat at the bar at a diner, sometimes you run into these people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like for places that still have big boys, when you eat at the counter and not grabbing a seat, you know.
It doesn't make it any less creepy. Like
Oh,
this
it's definitely
this was-
creepy.
To
Yeah.
me, this was more creepy than humorous.
Oh, it's definitely creepy, but I still, I didn't hate the moment. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just there. It's definitely there.
Okay. I'll let you move on.
Yeah. So a character named Jace Rucklin shows up. He's human. He's got blonde hair. He is voiced by Elijah Wood. And
Yeah.
it's-
So, my hearing's not that great, so I had a hard time of figuring out what this dude's name was because I was like Rucklin, Bucklin, Brooklyn, and then like somebody called him Jace later. And it wasn't until the credits that I figured out actually who he was. But you brought up Elijah Wood, and every time I heard him, I was like, this voice is very familiar. I should know this voice. Where's it from? And every time he had a line, I was like, I'm getting closer. But I never figured it out.
Yeah. Elijah Wood, I think I mentioned this. So the animators of this show, so the company, not the actual
Personnel.
personnel per se, but the company behind them also animated the Tron television series that aired on Disney XD about 5 years ago at this point.
Okay.
So it was just another. It was basically like a, I guess you'd call it like a midquel. Like it kind of took place at the same time as Tron Legacy. But Elijah Wood was the star of that show, so I found it interesting to see him back in this show as well.
Okay. How about that?
With the same artistic style per se. So, anyways, moving on. Jace is really quickly befriends our pal Kaz here. Kaz introduces himself. Jace even introduces Kaz to his team and mentions that he's a racer, just like Kaz. and his team is made up of Lin Gava and Gorak Wiles. So there's a team of 3. They're all racers. They're building their own ship. And one of them brings up that Gorak had seen Yeager racing and noted that he was pretty darn fast. And Lin was trying to say, like, maybe he's using some sort of fuel booster or something like that to be as quick as he was, winning all those races back in the day. And then the weird part here to me is that Kaz had no idea that Yeager was a racer.
Mm-hmm. He says, I thought he was just a mechanic.
Right. Which bothers me because his whole point to being on this platform is to collect information, but he somehow missed this big thing of the dude that's letting him stay at his place. Like,
so I think the reason for that is, obviously his naivete, but
right.
His approach to spying in the beginning is like, people are just supposed to give me information. Like, I'm not supposed to root out information. So it's like, he took this job in like a half a second. Like, he was a military dude that went AWOL to work for Poe Dameron.
Mm-hmm.
And Poe's like, hey, I'm going to hook you up with my buddy. He's a mechanic. So I think that at that point, Kaz is like, yeah, he's a mechanic.
He just moves on with it.
And presumably this has been days since he's been there.
Right.
So the time frame is very short. Last episode he was unpacking his book bag. And this episode he's still working on the same... Wasn't he working on this engine last episode?
Basically. Yeah, like right at the end, I think.
Yeah. So
right.
This is potentially like the next day, or I don't think that we've progressed much longer than a week through this series yet,
if that even.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense, but it's still just like just to me, it's a thing I feel like he would have come across at some point, and I'll get to why, sort of. Jace challenges Kaz to a race, and they race on these little speeder bikes, Return of the Jedi style, but they're racing over the water.
Mm-hmm.
As Kaz overtakes Jace in the race, but then his engine on his speeder bike blows, and then Jace saves Kaz from falling into the water.
And Kaz overtakes Jace by popping a wheelie and jumping over him.
Right.
In a pretty bold maneuver.
Especially when they're racing on the water, so there's not obstacles or anything that's in their way. They're not... The track isn't thin, right?
Well, Jace did pull the dick move of like... They were on the platform and they just drove into a hole and dropped down to the water.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jace is like... did the thing where it's like takes off running, like, hey, I'll race you to that thing,
and then goes
and was already in front, and then he's just swerving back and forth in front of Kaz,
just blocking his way,
and he's like, sorry, I can't let you in front of me because then you might win. That wouldn't be fair to me, would it?
So Jace saves Kaz from falling in the water, and they go back and meet up with Lin and Gorak again. Yeager finds Kaz and basically yells at him again for not fixing the engine because he's apparently been taking like a 2-hour lunch break or something here. And Yeager is like, I'm not paying you to not fix this engine, basically. So
yeah, he says something about he says, since when do I give 2-hour breaks? And Kaz is like, I've just been chilling with my friends. And he's like, really? Do you work for them? Do you work for me? Are they paying you not to fix the engine that I told you need to fix?
Right.
So
Yeager is bringing up very good points, and Kaz basically has nothing. So Kaz goes back with Yeager back to the garage. We get a nice little moment with Jace and team where Jace tells Gorak, like, good job on the engine there. Worked just as planned. So they're up to something nefarious for sure here. Back at the garage, Niku is there talking to Kaz. Kaz brings up that he was hanging out with with Rucklin, as he is referred to for the rest of the episode. And Niku right away brings up that Rucklin and his group of friends are not to be trusted. They are not what they seem, sort of. They're not cool people. He's kind of basically putting them down as nicely as Niku can. But Kaz still wants to escape out of there. Yeah, go ahead.
I really liked this. Niku was like, these young people are not to be trusted. What's he say? He says they're disobedient. They pull pranks on people. They don't take work seriously. They have a lot of fun. Generally, you shouldn't hang around them. And Kaz is like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah, so Kaz, upon hearing this, wants to basically go back out and hang out with Jace. Kaz tricks Niku to some degree to look away so that Kaz can escape, which I just found
in the dumbest manner possible.
Right, yeah, he just asks Niku for something that's like right there and then tiptoes out of there, which I just found like a major dick move as well.
It totally
because Niku does consider Kaz his friend too. So
how long do you think he was there? So, so what Kaz does is he's like, "Hey, can you go get me a tool out of that big case over there?" And Niku just runs over to a table and he's like, "Do you need this one and this one?" He's just holding them up like over his shoulder. This one, can't possibly be this one. And Kaz sneaks off in a very Mr. Bean-esque type of way.
Right. Yeah.
So, you know that at some point in time, Niku's like, well, I guess he's gone. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm hoping it's no more than like 30 seconds after the fact.
I don't know.
Because Niku has been interesting. We'll talk a little bit more, but in the first episode, I didn't like him because he creates the problems. But now that he's been removed from that role of creating problems, I do empathize with him and his level of truthfulness. So that's why I find it more of a dick move on Kaz's part to manipulate that from Niku.
For sure.
So in the last episode, seeing that Niku did have, despite being ultimately like very good on the morality scale, when Kaz shocks him because he gives him the wrong tool to fix that dude's ship, and he like gets electrocuted, you can still sense some aggression out of him, right? So I don't think he's dumb like I did in the first episode.
He's growing on you?
Yeah. Only because they've definitely already shifted his role in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah, I'd like to get back to Niku as well. But let's move on.
Let's move on. We'll talk more about these characters.
I'm gonna.
So where was I? Let's see. So, Kaz heads back to Jace's garage, and they're working on his racer, and in between conversation with Jace and Gorak and Lynn, they kind of plant this information that they would really like to score some Carillion hyperfuel, and that's really what would make the racer go fast and help them win races here on the Colossus.
Okay.
And they bring up in conversation wanting to see Yeager's racer as well. And Jace kind of reasons that he would just like to see it just so he kind of knows what a real racer should look like.
Yeah, this is how they're convincing Kaz to kind of come along with their cause.
Right.
Because they're like, they're like faux, I don't know, idolizing Yeager, where they're like, oh, Yeager was so great, and like, if I could just be as good as him, and this is what we've been doing to try to be as good and as fast as him, and wow, you must be lucky because you work with him. Like, have you seen his racer? Can you do this thing? He's like, I don't know, they got a racer, or Yeager's got a racer? You're talking about the Fireball? The Fireball sucks, it blows up, it's called the Fireball. And they're like, no, like no. In his private hangar, which Kaz doesn't even know is a thing, and they're like, well, dude, help me break into it, and I'll show you it's a thing, and everything will be great.
Right, exactly. So then Kaz agrees after all of that. Kaz is like, oh, yeah, we could definitely go check out Yeager's private hangar, because I want to see it too now. So they sneak into what is Yeager's office at first, and Kaz comes across a picture of a younger Yeager and notes that he was in the rebellion at Jakku, and on this digital picture frame / iPad / hologram device, he is able to rotate to another picture and notices that Yeager had a family ?
Right. Has ? Don't know.
Right. Don't know. There was a family at some point. We do not know where they are currently. But so this is back information on Yeager that Kaz is only discovering now.
Don't forget the trophies.
Yep, there are a bunch of racing trophies all in there. And right about now, Bucket, the droid, enters with Yeager, right?
No, so they followed Bucket in, and then they had to hide, and then Bucket left, and that's when they can. That's when Kaz can see the trophies and the picture and shit. Okay, and then this Yeager comes in, and then
Tam does right.
But it isn't right before Yeager comes in. What's the dude's name?
Jace.
Jace is like, hey, what about that door? And the quote unquote door to, I guess, the private hangar is locked, and Kaz is like, well, it's locked. Let's get out of here. Then Yeager comes in. They're hiding. They try to escape as the door's still open. Yeager has his back turned, but Tam comes in as well. So then they have to like double hide.
And then they have Tam and Yeager have their own exchange here.
Yep.
Where Tam is concerned that Kaz is missing again and not working on the engine. And Yeager is like, just give the boy a chance. I gave you one. So there's something here that we could work with surely at some point. Tam is just like, whatever, sure. And then gets out of there.
That's one of my questions for later, so we'll speculate.
So Yeager takes one look at the picture, which I find interesting because, just real quick, the Kaz puts the data pad on the table, but then Yeager puts it back up on the thing. So it's interesting to me that Yeager doesn't notice that the picture frame moved. But as soon as Yeager leaves, Jace eyeballs this canister that's on one of the shelves, and Kaz is talking for a second, looking out the door, and Jace swipes this canister. And then Jace is like, nope, we're good. It's okay. And he's hiding it behind his back as he's taking steps out of the office. And then
just boogies out of there. He's gone. Yes. Kaz leaves, sees BB-8. I guess he talks to BB-8, and BB-8 says something. He's like, what's the big deal? Like, we couldn't even break into the hangar, so no harm, no foul.
Like, no harm, no foul, yeah. Bucket very soon after is taking inventory of all the equipment that's inside of I'm guessing it was Yeager's office because it has his trophies and pictures in there, but it also looks like half storage if Bucket is doing some sort of inventory check.
Honestly, if it's like my office at work, this is exactly what you would see.
Right.
So, at work, we have an office area and we have a shop area.
Right.
And I'm in charge of the shop, among other things. But my office is my desk, a table with like another rack on it, and then I have a couple of shelves, and on the shelves are some literature that is pertinent to my job and whatnot, and then also random parts and shit that I don't want other people to lose. And some chemicals for like some herbicides that are controlled that I don't want everybody to have access to. So I think this is spot on to what would be in Yeager's office in his situation. Because there's a big area that is common for, like anybody can come and go. But he's got certain shit that he wants to keep behind lock and key so he can close the door.
And this makes sense considering what we'll find out very shortly, because Bucket notices that something is missing and freaks out and runs out and tells Tam and Niku that the hyperfuel that was mentioned prior has gone missing.
Yeah, it's called Carillion Hyperfuel, and then Tam calls it hot sauce.
Right. It has been referred to hot sauce a couple times earlier, too. I think Jace and Lynn also refer to it as hot sauce and wanting to add some hot sauce to the racer. Tam gets more explicit and says more than a couple drops could turn a ship into a giant bomb. So, yes, your reasoning as to why Yeager would keep that in his office makes a lot of sense. So we cut to Jace working on his ship and basically pouring a whole shit ton of this stuff right into his fuel tank or somewhere into his racer.
He's pouring it into the wing. Maybe?
Right, yeah. Just
or
some port
near
in the
cockpit.
wing.
Not really sure.
So it's getting poured, and Lynn does say, like, hey, watch out. We don't know how much you really actually need or what happens if you use more than a handful of drops or whatever. And Jace is like, nope, this is how I'm going to win the race. This is how it's going to happen. So
this reminds me of a dude that I used to work for when I was a roofer. I've had many jobs.
Right.
So he was, how do you say, a redneck? A hick?
Yes.
I don't know. But his motto was, if a little do a little good, a lot'll do a lot of good. And this is
how that works.
This is what Jace is doing, for sure.
Basically. Oh, yeah. I feel it will let's just finish out and then we'll get back to some of this.
Yep.
So Jace gets race ready, basically. He gets in his ship. The ship gets on the weird, like, little drop platform that you start the races on. And meanwhile, Kaz, after hearing what Tam has had to say about the hyperfuel, freaks out and starts running to try and stop Jace from flying his racer in the race. Takes a shortcut with BB-8. It was a shortcut that he had taken prior with Jace when they were headed out to go race on the speeder bikes. So he runs out there, is trying to wave them to stop, jumps on the cockpit of the ship from the outside, and is yelling at Jace to stop. Jace doesn't care. He just wants to win this race. But Kaz basically overrides all possibility of him doing that by opening up the cockpit hatch. The ship still takes off, and Jace is freaking out. because he just wants to win this race more than anything, and does not know why Kaz is freaking out so badly. In their scuffle, Kaz falls onto the ejector lever, I guess, and the seat ejects out of the racer.
Yeah, it's pretty serendipitous. He's trying to pull Jace out of the thing. And
just Jace himself, just physically out of the ship.
And that doesn't work, and he basically throws his feet down on either side of the pilot's chair, seat, whatever you call that.
Seat, yeah.
And hits the ejector. They both eject out. And
yep. So they're flying around above the water. Kaz is trying to find the parachute for the thing, but Jace notes that they took the parachute out because it was an unnecessary added weight to the ship, that they wanted to save the weight to make the ship go a little bit faster. And Kaz, of course, thinks this is absolutely stupid, which it is, because they're about to fall to their deaths in the water. Mm-hmm. As they're falling, a BB-8 shoots out a cord and catches the chair that they both hang on to. BB-8 starts trying to pull them back in, but the weight of 2 humans plus chairs is a little bit too much for our little droid. But Yeager does come up.
Badass.
Yeah, he's not doing too bad. He's rolling as much as he can, and then Yeager steps in, grabs the cord, pulls him up as well. Just looks angry at Kaz as soon as they're up above onto the platform. But then Jace yells at Kaz and blames him for blowing up the ship. Kaz does a pretty good job right here defending himself, saying, I didn't steal the thing. I didn't put it in your racer. Therefore, it's your fault that the racer blew up. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, he does an awesome job of defending himself. Like, for any young listener out there, if you have a bully, this is what you do.
Right.
You fucking confront them with the facts. I mean, having someone like Yeager behind you is beneficial as well. Find an adult that has your back, but when somebody comes up to you and they're trying to blame shift towards you, you stand your ground and you let them know, like, nope, like, I did the right thing, you did the wrong thing. And maybe this isn't apropos to bullies, but I've got 2 daughters. One's a teenager, one is not, because she's like 3 months old. And teenage girls can be bitchy and just start bitching at each other and be awful to each other. And it's not great, but when you're right, you're right. And I don't know. I'm rambling right now.
No. But especially in this case where these are undisputable facts, and even Jace realizes that he's been caught in...
Kaz didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And he doesn't, he... 1, he didn't do anything wrong. 2, this other dude did something wrong. 3, he tried to help him out. And 4, this dude's being a fucking douchebag back to him. So, I guess...
For literally saving his life.
Yeah. So, I guess the way that I'm trying to compare that to real-world situations is that people will be assholes to you, and that doesn't mean they're your friends. Like, be you, be good, and don't worry about that.
Yeah, and also, not everybody on this earth is going to be your friend. Right?
Nor should they be.
Yeah. So this is the other thing you have to accept as well. Be kind, have courage, but also understand that you cannot be friends with everybody.
That is probably a better way of stating what I was trying to say.
Right. Yeah. So Yeager does overhear Kaz defending himself and the situation. Mm-hmm. And Kaz also takes a lot of responsibility for the situation that he has inadvertently put Yeager in. And as they're back in the garage, Kaz does talk about being understanding if he does get fired, and if Yeager is very mad and all this stuff, and Yeager just says, nope, just fix the engine.
Mm-hmm.
So Kaz is like, wait, what? Huh? Yep, I can do this. So
the statement that Yeager had after he pulls them out of near death is he says the last thing we need right now is to attract attention. So it's like he gives him that warning. Then Kaz has this confrontation, and then Kaz goes back to Yeager, head hung low, shoulders down, and I guess he learned a lesson, right?
Right.
And, like you said, he's ready to be fired, and Yeager's like, nope. Go clean these fucking parts.
Right.
Be a mechanic. He said, what's he say? You're not a mechanic. You're not a great spy, but you need to figure out how to be both and get better at it. So fucking go clean these parts that are outside.
Yeah, and he does compliment Kaz in the same breath where he says something like, but you are a good person, and I can see that.
That's why, yeah, because after, like, Kaz thinks he's getting fired, and Yeager's like, no, just go do this shit, and Kaz is like, wait, what? And he was like, no, you're a good person, and that dude should have loved to have you as a friend. He's the one that lost here. You didn't. Right. So just get back to work and go do your shit.
Mm-hmm. So the episode ends with Kaz going outside to clean the engines, and he's disappointed that he's still cleaning engines and won't be able to watch the race until he realizes that Yeager put the stuff outside so that he could watch the race.
Yeah, and to be pedantic, these aren't engines. These are just parts of something.
The parts. Yeah, the parts. Yeah.
That are on some type of hover sled. And he's like, yes, like outside where the race is so I can watch the race while I clean the parts.
Right.
And we come full circle.
And, yep, the hoverboard, for whatever reason, starts sliding off again, and it goes right into the water.
I'm telling you, it's that pitch, man. The shit is pitched so that when it rains, the stuff runs away from.
But it's still on the walkable platform, though. This is the part I don't understand.
Well, it's not pitched that much. It's just pitched enough that...
Still.
Hey, you don't know about hover technology.
I don't know. Anyway, so the parts go over the platform. We cut to black for a couple of seconds, and then cue fanfare.
Cue fanfare. Right? Celebrate fanfare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fanfare celebration. Something.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's the episode in a not so brief summary.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Yeah, in a nutshell, that's kind of everything that happens here. So, where do you want to start with this one? We've hit a few issues as we were going through there, but was there anything glaring to you?
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, another 5 things. I think 5 things is about my deal.
Yes.
I was going to start with this fake race at the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've talked about the maturity of Kazuda before.
Yes. Yeah.
Should he have seen this coming? Or is he so desperate for friendship that he's got nothing? He's got no dog in this fight. Like, he's just like, he's so desperate for friends. I'm digging for words here,
This is why I really, in hindsight, hate how this show started.
Okay.
With him in a team of other X-Wing pilots.
I completely agree with you. I know that I defended him in the past, but I feel where you're coming from.
Right.
Because he's having a digression of character, not a progression of character, and he didn't need to start there. He needed to start somewhere else and grow to where he is now. And if that is the case, then or if that was the case, then this would be better.
Right. Yeah, so, like, I'm not going to lie. I still don't like his character, even without that information present. Just, like, this episode alone, things he does, how he talks, how he acts, are just annoying.
Okay.
That said, the fact that we have been given the information that he's this Navy trained cadet and all this stuff, and he has
Which he's
the
not.
senator father.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, these are conflicting pieces of information and character background history versus what we're seeing now. Like, I agree. I don't know why this guy is so again, naive is going to be like the word of this podcast for Resistance, the Resistance half versus the Clone Wars discussion half of things. But yeah, like, one guy starts talking to him at Aunt Z's, and then he's meeting his other friends, and he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna hang out." Like, I'm still on the clock, but no, we're gonna just hang out and then go race. Like, no, right? So I agree. I don't know what is motivating this. If it's just some weird, sad, lonely background of his, but again, it's conflicting from the X-Wing stuff where he was working with a team, or if it's the situation at hand on the Colossus.
Okay, you bringing up the X-Wing stuff, he was working with a team. I don't think he feels like a part of Yeager's team. I think that maybe he sees some peers that he thinks he could be a part of their team. So maybe that actually is a driving force for him to want to get to know these people more. Now, as far as like this race goes, I was like, I don't know. Even with that, like, jumping balls deep onto a fucking speeder bike that you just ride off the edge of a fucking thing to drop,
Right.
I don't know, however far down onto some water with no expectation of what is to come is a dumb idea.
Right. Absolutely.
So, shame on you, Kazuda, for doing this, and you got what you deserved. Like,
yeah. Like, he just falls straight into this, like, peer pressure that is just wildly immature and bizarre to see. And I get, again, that we're watching a children's show, but that's not who this character is or should be, right? For the advanced age that this character is. If it was Ezra, that's the growth of Ezra makes sense because Ezra was a kid. Ahsoka was a kid. I'll give those two characters that. Yeah, this guy is an adult.
Problem.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a grown dude. Like, he might not be a grown man per se, but he's not a kid. Like, Ezra was a straight up kid.
He's past adolescence.
Right.
This is where Ahsoka and Ezra started, was adolescence. This guy is past adolescence. He is potentially into his professional career. Right. And yes, he has definitely jumped from one professional career to another professional career, but he is at that age, so he should be more mature and smarter than this. This race rolls me into the next thing that I had on my list, which is Corellian hyperfuel.
Yep.
Okay. So, Jace and his crew are willing to wreck the speeder bike for Corellian hyperfuel. Now, one, with the name Corellian hyperfuel, I would have imagined this is fuel for hyperspace, not for racing through some fucking sky rings.
Right.
Right.
I had that question as well.
This isn't... It's not like... I don't know. Do people use jet fuel in their fucking funny cars when they're doing the quarter mile or whatever the fuck racing is. I don't know.
Right. You mean the F1, not the F1. What is it? The dragster races. You talking about the top speed dragsters?
Yeah. Well, yes. F1 is a thing. Funny cars a thing. Drag racing is a thing. But do any of these people use jet fuel? I don't think so. I think they use some other type of alcohol-based fuel, right?
Yeah.
High performance, like racing fuel, whatever. So, hyperfuel, I don't know. But then, it like kicks in my brain, and I'm like, all right, hyperfuel. Saw Solo recently. Is this supposed to be coaxium?
Mm-hmm.
So then I looked up the price of coaxium, and of course it says like how much is coaxium worth. Like it's kind of conflicting even within Solo the movie, but it's like the little vial is supposed to be like 800 credits, but then the like suitcase at the end is supposed to be worth 60 million. And that's like unrefined, so that's like uncut cocaine as opposed to like I don't know whatever drug lords do with cocaine, processed cocaine. I have no idea.
Right.
So you're able to expand that out from like a suitcase to a thing, but presumably this would be like a processed, ready to use material, so it's closer to the vial of coaxium, right?
Right.
And I don't know how many would fit in that little jug. I'm thinking like a quart, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Max. So you can think, I don't know, 10 times that amount? 10 times the amount of vial?
Yep.
So 8,000 credits, right? So then I also looked at how much a speeder bike costs.
Mm-hmm.
And they are, from what I can see, used 950 credits to new 8,000 credits. So I don't know how new. I mean, Kaz was pretty impressed by this speeder bike that he ended up crashing. Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that it's new or relatively new and also souped up a little bit. So I don't think that these people are breaking even. Maybe they're breaking even. Maybe this stuff is just harder to get.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like with like the HoloNet and the Republic is in good standing, like things are rolling. Mm-hmm. The First Order hasn't come in to like disrupt too much because, as Yeager has stated, the First Order, like most of the people here wouldn't even know what the First Order is. So like keep your mouth shut on the First Order because people don't even know what that is. So they're going to think you're fucking stupid. Okay. So it doesn't seem like we're in a gasoline war.
No. Yeah.
And also, people aren't like kicking down Yeager's door trying to get this super special secret fuel. Except for these clowns. So I feel like sacrificing a motorcycle to buy a gallon of gas, even if it is like Nas or whatever.
Right.
Probably one isn't economical and two isn't a very good plan.
Yeah. And what's weird is like they know it exists but didn't do any further research on it, which
nope, they just want to steal it.
They just want to steal it. That's it. That's
as far as we know,
plan.
You could go to Aunt Z's and like buy a pint of Carillion Lager and a pint of Carillion Hyperfuel.
Right.
Or for like $10.
Or flick an Orca, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was just a weird thing. And it's such a long conceived plan to try and push through just to win a race.
Right.
That it becomes so odd. Anyways, what else you got?
The next thing I got on my list is Yeager says to Tam, like, I gave you a break, give him a break. Speaking of Kaz. What do you think her break was? And or does it matter? And or will this come up in the future?
I feel like it might. I feel like there's something to do with his past in the rebellion and with the family that might be tied to the reasons Tam is there as well.
Okay.
You know, if it seems like Tam, Niku, and Yeager have known each other for a long while. Especially because Niku is post contact, right? Like, so
I feel like I was gonna ask how old do you think Niku is, but I think I'll leave that for maybe another episode. But like Niku is old enough to, I guess he has a generic enough face. Niku could be one of those characters that's like 500 fucking years old, right? We can assume that Yeager is younger than that. Tam herself looks around the age of Kazuda.
I agree. Yeah. She looks young.
I feel like it's something recent. I do believe that whatever this I gave you a break deal is will come up later. I don't think it's going to be something that Kaz like finds out like, oh, I found out this about you, but I feel like it would be, if it does come back up, it'll be more of a, like Kaz does something, then he's like all feeling Eeyore about shit and like, like all depressed, and she's like, no, chill out, like, hey, let me open up to you and give you a story and share it that way.
Yeah. It's not going to be any big twist or turn or anything. It's just going to be another layer to Tam's character at some point down the line for sure.
Okay.
That's how I'm imagining it.
Cool. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I've got a comment about these engines and these fucking parts dropping into this water. If you take an engine that is running or ready to run and just submerge it in water for an indeterminate amount of time and pull it back out, a mechanic that was unable to get this thing working before that is not going to be able to get that thing working by the end of the day. That's not the way it works. This shit isn't necessarily ruined, but some severe damage has been done to this stuff, and you need to like break it down, clean things out, rebuild shit, replace gaskets, like electrical systems are probably not in working order. This is a big deal, and it's not just, you don't...
It's not just wipe it off and
it's not
put
scolding
it in a bag of
and
rice.
plug it back in. Right.
Right, yeah.
That was a rant, which leads me to my next question. What do you feel this water surrounding Colossus is? Is this an ocean?
Yeah, I feel like they're in some ocean. I don't know if it's an ocean planet. Right?
Okay. So do you feel like it is an ocean like on Camino, where it seems to be like endless ocean beneath? Or more like the ocean in Interstellar, where how the robot can walk through it because it's like 3 feet deep?
Closer to Camino, but not like super deep, you know?
Okay, because I was totally going the other direction, where I feel like this is, this is the wave pool planet, where it's like, unless there's agitation, it's probably only about 4 to 5 feet deep.
I feel like it's deeper than that, but clearly it's not too deep that engine gets lost in the depths of the ocean, right?
Right.
You know, so
and or it's okay to just take somebody and chuck them off the side.
Right. Yeah.
So,
but like, maybe like 100 feet deep. I don't know. It's
100 feet deep is fucking deep, man. You can lose some shit in 100 feet.
Surely you can.
And you can definitely lose a person that you just fucking throw off the side of an outcropping.
Well, I mean,
a pier or...
I always assume that guy died, so...
I think that
we never saw him come back.
I think the depth of the water is less than from the water to the deck.
I don't know. I feel like it's deeper than that. But again, we have no evidence for it really, other than they are able to fish this stuff out. So I see where you're coming from with that for sure.
I feel like this is all like, it's like, say from the water, because all the water that we've seen is, I won't even say relatively calm. I'm going to say absolutely calm, because we don't even see like breaks in the water or like waves or anything. There's pretty much no undulation or anything. It's just kind of like, it's like a nice pool of water that Colossus is in. So say from sea level to the deck of the Colossus is 100 feet. Then I would say that the ocean is tops 50 feet deep.
Okay.
And that they built up double the depth for whatever swell would come with storms or tidal currencies or whatever. That's my prediction.
That makes sense. Yeah. As of right now, there's definitely, no evidence either way. So, but
nope. I agree.
I agree with you. That makes sense. I just don't know what to say because there's no other information to work with as of right now.
I've got two other things and then to our one-word breakdown.
Hit it up.
I was going to bring up, like, stripping down this racer. I think it's a stupid idea. Like, originally I was thinking if I wanted my car to go fast, I wouldn't take out the back seat and, like, the rear brakes and some other shit. But I guess it kind of makes sense only if racing is like a new thing, because otherwise that's why there are stock cars and Indy cars and shit, and they're like, you take a stripped down car to a derby to fucking smash into other cars. You don't take your stripped down car to the dirt track to race against other El Caminos or whatever. I don't know. I don't get that. Like, I guess this is a bunch of kids that are trying to be smart about something, but not approaching it in the proper manner. Like, I feel like you have the thing. Like, they got this from somewhere. They purchased it, right? They should be able to build it up in the manner of creating a faster, stronger, more efficient racer, rather than like removing the fucking parachute and just like, oh, we'll just take these systems out. Because I would imagine that whatever systems are included in this thing are probably more vital than like the passenger mirror on my car. I can get rid of that and my car still operates, but I can't like pull out mechanical things and my car still operates properly.
Yeah, like the logic of reducing weight to increase speed makes sense to me.
Okay.
Especially like acceleration, right?
Yep.
Makes acceleration a lot easier. But I agree with you. I don't know why he starts pulling out things like the parachute, right? Or what they call non-essentials.
That seems pretty essential. Especially if you don't know you're going to win.
Quite so, but yeah, it's like, to me, it's like reducing weight on a plane makes sense just to get to fly. Yeah,
I mean, take the wheels off.
Right. Yeah, take the wheels off and don't put any seats in there. So
yeah.
But again, it's just this weird logic of everybody on this show, just about, except for Yeager, like, and Tam and Niku, I guess.
Yeah.
There is a weird logic that runs throughout this show.
Yep. So
Yeah,
I had one other thing, but I'm totally saving that for another episode because it feels better. So last thing I got is our one word breakdown.
Yeah.
So.
This one is gonna be I don't know, like, the one word breakdown of this episode is just, what did I say for the last one? I don't even remember.
You said disjointed.
Ah, yes.
You have been whimsical and disjointed.
This one is, I'm gonna go. Shit. It came and then it left my head for a quick second, but something along the lines of just what did we talk about earlier? Like the immaturity.
Okay.
Right? Something like that, somewhere along the lines. That's still not all the way there, but just the
naivete.
Yeah, naivete is sort of there too. Naivete, or it's not one word, obviously, but just succumbing to peer pressure, right? Like,
okay,
it's just
I can work with that, and we'll figure something out.
Like following the herd of some sort, you know.
Lemming-ish.
Right, something like that. Right. So that's how I feel about everything happening this episode. Yourself?
Contrived.
Yeah. Yep.
And yeah, that's the first run through I gave was just, it felt like the whole reason for this was for Kaz to see this picture.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, this picture, when Kaz is looking at it and he's like, oh, I didn't know that Yeager was in the rebellion and fought at the Battle of Jakku. And then it shows the picture of Yeager and his family. One of the two of these, which I'm guessing because one is identified as the Battle of Jakku, the other one is Batu.
Oh, is it? I didn't even notice.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that you can see it, but
yeah,
online research, right? It's so it's got to be him and his family at Batu because the other one is at the Battle of Jakku, unless like
the Jakku one is really obvious because the Star Destroyer has fallen behind in the image.
Well, there you go. So the second picture is Batu. So
yeah,
Disney's doing some things to like thread in Batu and get people to want to head into their Disney parks, which is good. So I hope that when the shit opens up, it's a nice experience. And I'll have to take your word for it because it's probably going to be several years until I'm able to make it by. But
yep.
But yeah,
I will be there day one, however crazy it gets.
So yeah, my one word breakdown is contrived because everything happens so that Kaz can learn a little bit of backstory about Yeager.
But like, if I had one word to describe how I felt, like, without question, annoyed. Like, because it was so contrived. That, yeah.
You can make yours annoying if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, annoying for sure. So, I mean, if as we head into our final thoughts on this episode, you know, like, it's very obvious, maybe, I'm hoping, in the tone of my voice, that I did not enjoy this episode.
This one's a down for you?
Oh, yeah. I didn't enjoy this at all. Like, this one, I think, is the worst episode yet of Resistance out of the three.
This one and episode 1 are tied for me, so I still gave this one a thumbs up. And maybe I'm still giving it, the benefit of the doubt of like the beginning of a series. There were a couple things I liked, and like the end message of, like sometimes you gotta, cut them a break, and Kaz finding out a little bit of backstory of Yeager, that's good. And Kazuda is a fucking douchebag in this.
He's a complete asshole. That's my main problem with this.
None of his actions make sense, but I do like that Yeager and Tam have that little moment, and Yeager says, "Hey, I cut you a break." One time I had a boss that had to sit me down in their office and give me a what the fuck speech, right? And at the end of it, they said, "You know what? I'm willing to cut you some slack." Because one time somebody cut me some slack and it worked in my benefit. It made something click in my brain that fucking turned me around. And here I am today. And now you're sitting across the desk. And so I'm giving you this moment. So take it and run with it, or don't. But if you don't, you ain't going to work here anymore. And if you do, you're going to be able to do good things. So that is what I thought of with this episode. So I had to give it a thumbs up.
I mean, that's fine. That's a good moment for sure in this episode. But like a 15-second exchange in a 22-minute episode is not enough for me to feel anything, like that. I agree with you. That's a good moment. I do like getting more of Yeager's background, but just the writing just straight up sucks in the rest of the episode.
Okay.
Like, Jace as a character is so overblown, and Elijah Wood is doing what he can, but even his tone here just sounds flat and confused about what he's supposed to be doing.
Well, I think that's kind of in line with Elijah Wood acting in anything. So
I don't know. I mean, he was great in Tron. Again, when you're just doing voice acting, he was great in Tron, and he was able to carry so much more emotion. But here it's like the emotionless version of mustache twirling,
Okay. Yeah.
Then you get these two other characters that I barely care about at all. The moment you bring is good, but just everything else around it is just I just say it's complete trash, honestly.
Hey, fair enough.
Yeah, and I'm not one for hyperbole or anything. It's just I agree with you. I think in the pilot I told you, like I'm giving that pilot some slack because sometimes it takes a few episodes for shows to find their rhythm. The fact that episode 2 lost momentum that was being built up from episode 1, and now that we're on episode 3, that I don't even know what the fuck I'm watching at this point,
Yeah, like I said, this one and the pilot of the show called The Recruit, they're tied for me. So they're
like I don't know
they're
where
not,
the show. Yeah,
they're not
like,
quite enough to break to the negative, but they're not. If I had to give a percentage of these things, they're not 100%. Well, we go black and white. We go thumbs up, thumbs down, and this one breaks above the 50, so it's thumbs up.
But for me, like being 3 episodes into the show, and I don't know where the show's going. I don't know why I should care. The fact that we got the stinger at the end of the last episode with Captain Phasma, and then nothing built off of that, right? Because that stinger came out of fucking nowhere too, right? So I honestly thought we were going to get another stinger just to kind of keep that thread alive.
I'm actually happy that we didn't.
I don't.
I'm happy that like this First Order shit isn't just like stingers at the end of episodes, because if that happened, like I'd be pissed.
But
unless, I mean, you know, if you structure it like the old fucking Dragon Ball Z stuff, where it was like the first third of the episode is the last third of the episode,
right?
Or the first third of this episode is the last third of the last one, and then like some shit happens in the middle, and then like the last third is like, this is what's happening next time,
right?
Like, you want to do that, cool, but then a 10 episode story arc for one season is like 2 days, maybe.
Yeah, but then I just need some sense of actual progression rather than I need story progression rather than just like, oh, here's something about this character that has been there and this is who that character is, we just didn't know it before. That's not progression.
I'm hoping that this is the last episode where how do I say this? We had a pilot that introduced us, quote unquote, to the world of Resistance, right? Mm-hmm. Then we had an episode that kind of tried to show us the main character's confliction with or transition from where he was to where he's going. Mm-hmm. This episode didn't show us where he's going, but potentially showed us an influence of where he's at. I don't know. So we soon we need to get to where we are. Otherwise, I don't think I can hold my thumb above halfway for too much longer.
And again, for a show called Resistance, I don't. There is no resistance in this show.
Not yet.
Which I think is funny.
Yeah.
Like Kaz is a spy for the Resistance, but he's not really technically officially Resistance himself. But yeah, it's just if we weren't doing this show, I would have watched these first 3 episodes in a row,
and then not watched it again.
Right. I would have waited until I heard something at the end of the season and been like, I guess maybe I should catch up and see what this is about.
Depending on what it was.
Depending on what I had heard about it, right? Because as I've mentioned on this podcast overall, like I didn't watch Clone Wars, period. Never watched a single episode of Clone Wars until everything was on Netflix.
You to?
No, yeah, and yeah, exact that. But not until a couple years ago when everything was on Netflix, and I just sat down and I was like, oh shit, Disney kept this canon for some weird reason, so let's see what's in here.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, we have 5 to 6 weeks worth of whether, you know, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna give you our opinion, and we'll let you know in 5 to 6 weeks, depending.
Yep.
Because we don't exactly know how many episodes are in this season, and
we're just going week by week and just seeing what happens here. So, but we'll always show up at some point with these episodes. So we'll have to see when we release the next Resistance episode, if because Disney, like I said, released the first 3 in a row. We were able to watch ahead of time before official release date, but you know, the next handful might be actually reacting after the episode actually airs for us. So
yeah,
but we'll just play it by ear. That's the joy of a easygoing podcast. Yeah,
we are at the mercy of Disney release dates. So
right, yeah. So
they will let us know when you will hear the next episode. That makes sense.
Just keep an eye on it. Yeah, I'm sure Kevin will tweet out some dates about when episodes are premiering and stuff like that. But any final words you want to say about the episode at all?
Nope, not at all. I was going to say potentially the next episode may be called The Runaways, and that's all I got. So
yeah. Okay, so with that said, that was our thoughts on Feel for the Fire, the third episode of the first season of Resistance here. We want to give our regular shout-outs to Lindsay, who put together the jingle at the beginning and the end. You can reach out to her at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. Also, we would like to say thanks to Kevin Warren, who put together our cover photo, I guess you can call it, the animated drawing of Kevin and myself.
I think we called it our hero pose.
Hero pose, yep. Our logo, our main logo, that is. So Kevin Warren put that together. If you want to reach out to him for any work in the similar fashion, you can reach out to him at Twitter at They Call Me KW. If you want to reach out to us, you can email us at notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. You can reach out to Kevin. He runs our Twitter at nottthenerds. I run our Facebook at Not the Nerds Podcast. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, YouTube. So just let us know where you're listening. Give us a like, subscribe, comment, please, so we know how we're doing.
Yeah, share with a friend.
Yes, definitely. Just let us know what you think about Resistance yourself. I would like to hear what other people are thinking, especially just the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
we pretty much know what people think of the Clone Wars because that was like 10 years ago, but Resistance, 10 minutes ago. So
right, exactly.
When you get to that point, let us know what you think of it. Are we right? Are we wrong?
Am I being too hard on a show that's just starting out? I mean, one last thing I do want to say is Niku and Kaz have definitely flipped in my, like, I'm okay with Niku after saying that he was like my second least liked character in the Star Wars universe. Kaz is definitely taking over that position right now. So that is the uphill battle this show has with me. I really don't like Kaz whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the turnaround we're facing here with the show. So we'll see. Anyways,
I got one more thing. I just decided this. We give our thumbs up, thumbs down. So why don't you share your thumbs up, thumbs down with us, be it through comments on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter. So yeah,
that's a good idea. Yeah,
I want to know what you guys think.
Yeah,
because right now I am 100% thumbs up on Resistance.
All right. Oh yeah. So I'm 1 up, 2 down. Is that where I'm at?
Yep.
All right.
So.
I feel like an asshole every time. No.
You should.
I know. Just so harsh on these shows. Anyways, we'll see you next week for the next episode of Resistance, whatever that may be. But as far as we know, it's still airing next week Sunday.
Yeah, so we'll find out. And until then, these aren't the nerds you're looking for.